Hello, everyone. I'm Stesha, and this is Becky, and welcome to Spill the Tea with S&B. Today, we're going to be talking all about time management and how to prioritize your tasks, especially when it's the last thing you want to be doing.
Yes, it is spring and it is almost May and the weather's finally turned nice. And the last thing I want to do is sit in the house and do tasks. I want to go outside, but I have to manage my time and I have to get my work done. So it would be fun to kind of hash out how to accomplish everything. So, my first question for you is when you have a task you need to complete, but there's something you'd rather be doing, what steps do you take to stay focused?
Yeah, okay. So I feel like this happens often, right? Especially right now, this time of year. It's sunny outside. It's beautiful right now. And if I have to be stuck inside working on my computer, sometimes it's really hard for me to focus on the things that need to get done. So a couple of things that I do to refocus myself, sometimes I will just allow myself to go outside. I'll go sit outside for just a little bit, and we have trees, so I'll sit there and I'll listen to the birds. I'll watch their flittering activity. I'll go get some sunshine. Um, just be outside for maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I'll come back inside. And I find that sometimes that really helps me focus a little bit better. The other thing is that I don't overwhelm myself with tasks. So I pick maybe the most important handful of things that need to get done that day, and then I reward myself with being able to go outside or whatever it might be. So I will get those most important things done first, go outside, do something fun, and then if I have time later, I'll do some additional tasks. What about you?
I'm pretty much the same. I'll take my laptop outside and work outside. Or sometimes if I don't feel like taking everything and moving it, I'll just open the window and I can hear the birds and I can smell the fresh air and the breeze blows in. And sometimes that's a good enough fix for me. But I do too. I try to reward myself. I'm like, if I can get these three things done, then I'll go take a walk. Or I'll go outside and pull weeds for 20 minutes or something just to kind of change what I'm doing, but still try to stay on track. So that kind of leads to the next question. How do you prioritize your tasks? How do you put them in order of importance? How do you determine what's important?
I think so. I truly think that this depends on the person and what you're working on. So for me, I have to prioritize my work tasks first, and then I can prioritize some of the personal tasks that I have to do. And this might change. It depends on your career field, whether you're a parent or not, what you have, if you're going to school, what you have going on, some of those other tasks or extracurriculars that you do. So for me, when I start my day, I first wake up. The very first thing that I do is I sit down and I write out or take a look at all of the things that need to be done that day. And then I will just go, I'll write them all out, just like a total brainstorm on a piece of paper. And then I'll go through and I'll write numbers next to them, and the numbers correspond with importance. So obviously, number one is going to be that very first task that has to get done today. And usually I will prioritize my tasks by the time frame that I have to complete them. So if I have something that is not due for a week or a couple of days, obviously that'll get pushed down on my list a little bit more. But if I have something that has to be done today, that's going to be number one on my list. So I usually have a couple of different lists. My first is work related, and then my second is anything outside of work. And again, what needs to get done now and what can be pushed off. And just one tip for that. Sometimes I think we confuse what has to be done now with what we want to get done now. And we can't fit everything into one day. So be realistic with yourself. Even though you want this done right now and it might be bothering you or in the back of your mind, does it have to be done right now? If the answer is no, then you might want to put it off if you have more important tasks that need to be pushed up on the list. What
Uh,
about you? What are some of the things that you do to figure out how you are going to prioritize those most
well,
important?
A good example that I can think of is I'm taking classes and all my work is done on Sunday, but I like to try and get it done by Friday
Got it.
so I can kind of enjoy my family on the weekends. So I'll look at what's due on Sunday and set a goal for Friday and then hash out what I have to get done each day to meet that Friday goal. And then if something happens, or life, shows up and I don't get it done by Friday, I still have the weekend to get it done. So I try to give myself a deadline that's earlier than the actual deadline for anything, a work related task, a personal task, or my academic. So I always kind of set my own deadline. And I'll work backwards. If I have something that's due Friday, I'll get it done first and then I'll work back to Tuesday. But that can kind of create some stress if there's a lot that week. So it depends on the task and what I'm doing. But my best trick, I think, is setting deadlines and setting my own versus what the actual deadline is. I'm not a procrastinator.
I think
Never
that's
have
great.
been.
No, I think the idea of setting an earlier deadline than you're supposed to have is wonderful because if so I like that because sometimes I'll put a presentation together or something and then the day of I'll look at it again and think, okay, maybe I want to change some things. And so if you give yourself that deadline that's a little bit earlier, that gives you some leeway in case something happens, something goes awry. So I think that's a really great trick or tip.
Yeah, yeah. Which is another question I have. Have you ever missed a deadline for anything?
Yeah, so I have missed a deadline. I will say if I have missed a deadline, which I have, it's been completely on accident. So I am definitely a time manager because I stress about that kind of stuff. And also I think it's respectful. It is respectful to respect other people's time. So if you're submitting stuff late, if you're showing up to events late, I feel like that's almost disrespectful because you're telling that person my time is more valuable than yours, and I don't want anybody to feel that way. And also, somebody else, their project or their piece might be relying on me to get my stuff done in a timely manner. So when I have missed deadlines, it has been on accident. And to be honest, it probably was because I was in a rush and I forgot to schedule it on my calendar. And I stress the importance of the calendar. And all of my friends and family know if it's not on Stash's calendar, it's not happening and it's not getting done. So that's one thing is I try to remind myself as because someone will text, even if it's just going to lunch, right? Somebody might text you and say, "Hey, do you want to grab lunch on Wednesday?" And if you just text back and say, "Yeah, that's fine," and then you have a million other tasks to do, sometimes it's just gone. So I really challenge myself to try as soon as somebody books something, I put it in my calendar. Because
Mhm.
if not, then I miss it. So,
Yeah.
and it can cause issues. Like I mean, life, friends, family are a little more understanding, but if you miss a work deadline or project, you could lose your job.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. I missed a deadline for an assignment for one of my courses because it was the end of the course and it wasn't due Sunday, it was due Friday. I
Yeah.
had it done, but in my brain, I thought, oh, I have Saturday, I can proofread it and turn it in. And I woke up in the middle of the night and was like, no, no, it was due Friday. So I turned it in on Saturday. And luckily they accepted it, but they didn't have to. So that could have been a disaster. So I'm like I have to write everything down. Yesterday, my daughter asked me, "Hey, can I do so and so on Friday?" And I said, "This time of year, you can't ask me that without my calendar in front of me because I don't know what's happening Friday. I'm worrying about today." So when things get really busy, it's crucial to have it written down on a calendar or in your phone on a calendar or something so you can keep up with it all.
You know, I just thought you said you just talked about missing a deadline. I actually did just miss a deadline yesterday. But it was totally self-inflicted because I had it in my calendar and the notification went off and I was in the middle of working on something and I thought, "Oh, I'll do that after." But once that notification disappeared, I forgot. And so then this morning I jumped on and I thought, oh no, I forgot to send the data to my leader last like yesterday or last night. And so I did it this morning and I apologized, but that also goes to even if you set reminders, if you can't do it right away, you need to make sure that you snooze it or that you set another reminder for later on. So I actually
That's good
forgot.
advice.
I did
Yeah.
miss deadline yesterday.
Yeah. So that leads us to multitasking because I am not good at multitasking because I get distracted by shiny things and don't go back to the original task. How do you handle multitasking?
Oh gosh. I feel like I hear people say all the time, I'm a good multitasker, and I feel like I say that too, but in my heart, I just feel like it's very hard to be a good multitasker. Because you're not giving 100% to one thing. So yeah, you might be getting a lot of different things done, but if it's only being done with half of the effort or a quarter or even 75% of the effort, that's still not as good as 100%. So have I'm not perfect. I still multitask. I mean I will some and this is awful. Sometimes I'll be in meetings and I'll be answering, emails or working on something while I'm listening to the meeting and I'm not retaining 100% of what I'm supposed to be. And so I have been trying to hold myself accountable. And genuinely focus on one thing at a time. And it goes back to that priorities list that we talked about. And I tell myself, I'm going to focus on one priority at a time. And I get excited about being able to fit, and I like to write it down on it. I have a little notepad right here. I write it down because it brings me joy being able to physically cross that item off of my list. I am trying, it's very hard. I'm trying not to multitask anymore because I feel bad that I'm not giving 100% to every item on my list. Do you still multitask? Is that something that you do?
No, I've never been good at it, especially when it comes to work or academic tasks. I have to focus 100% on what I'm working on and then move on to the next task. Sometimes it's necessary, you have to multitask, but I try really hard to focus on one task at a time. And then, like you said, check it off and move on. I do though, but because I'm a mom and I work from home, I do multitask chores. So it's really easy to keep the laundry going and answer emails. The laundry is like a break. I get up and I put it from the washer to the dryer, or do a load of dishes and turn the dishwasher on. So I can multitask in that regard that I can do little chores in between work projects. But when it comes to things that I really need to think about and concentrate on, I can't because, like I said, I get distracted. Something well, I wasn't going to attend a meeting the other day and I got a meeting notice and I'm like, "Oh, I'll do that on my phone because I have to go pick up one of the kids." Between the 15 minutes between the meeting reminder and getting in the car and getting where I needed to go, I forgot. So I'm like, I need more than one reminder, or I needed to have a better plan and not try to multitask both things. Um, So, yeah, I'm not good at it at all. So I try to avoid it. And I try to avoid distractions, which is really hard to do also when I work from home. I mean, how do you avoid distractions when you're trying to focus?
No, this is a really good topic. I just chatted with someone about this the other day. And I this is something I've recently implemented because I was finding that I was getting really stressed and overwhelmed because for work, we're in our chats all the time and we're in meetings and we're emailing and we're texting and we're calling. And then on top of that, on the side, I have all of my notifications on my phone. And it depends on the person, right? You might have group chats that you're a part of for fun, like if you are on a fantasy football team, or you have a group of friends, or even a family chat or family members, or if you're a social media person, you have notifications. And so between all of the different dings and the pings and the vibrates, I was like overstimulated. So I set up and I'm not sure about other phones, but on my phone, I can pick and choose the different do not disturb settings. So I do reduced notifications when I'm working on a project, and I'll only allow calls or texts from a handful of very important people, like if something happens to, my grandma or my parents or something like that. And that has helped me so much. And even when I'm in, like right now, my phone is in do not disturb or reduce notifications when I'm in meetings, whatever it might be, because I already know that if I'm working on something and I get a Teams notification that pops up, I'm gonna check it. And so if I don't even know that I'm getting those notifications, I'm stress free. And you know what? Those notifications are still going to be there in 15 minutes or an hour when I'm done with my meeting or my task. And it hasn't really affected anything. I did, though, I will say this, I did have to tell some of my friends or family members, hey, I didn't disappear. I'm okay. I'm not taking any personal calls or texts during work hours. So again, I think it's important to set that expectation. But finding a way to turn off the unnecessary distractions can help you focus on the most important tasks.
Yes, yes. Awesome advice. I had to do the same thing with my family and say, when you work from home, it's really hard because they think you're at their beck and call. And I had to, tell them, from this hour to this hour, I am not available to be at your beck and call unless it's an emergency. You kind of have to handle these things on your own until I can give you my attention. And I don't get alerts from anything on my phone except a few people who I need to hear from if it's a problem, like, my mom or you, or, there's a few people that I need to know if they're trying to contact me. But for the most part, everybody can wait. And I grew up in a world where you didn't have a phone with you all the time. So it's really easy for me to put my phone in the other room and go and do something and not even think about it until I'm ready to think about it. And I mean, I would want to encourage everybody to try that and just, do it for half an hour. Just put your phone away and go do something. It really a big challenge is get in your car and go somewhere without it. You'll you'll feel some anxiety because you're like, oh, what if somebody's trying to reach me? Or what if this or what if that? But then you'll get home and your phone will still be there and the people that needed you are okay to wait 30 minutes. So I would challenge everybody to try to do that
That's
once or
great.
twice a week. Just literally walk away from your phone, leave it where you can't get to it for a few minutes, and get your mind in that habit that you don't have to be attached to it.
I love that advice so much. I love that advice. And I know the perspective is different because there's about maybe 20 years between us.
Hmm.
And so I did grow up in a world that was, all about the phones and the computers and the social media and constantly being pulled in different directions.
Hmm.
So very, very interesting perspective. That is all the time we have for Spill the Tea today, but I love that call to action. We want to challenge you all to take, you know, 10 minutes to 30 minutes and be without your phone. Or like Becky said, run to town or go for a drive without your phone and just be aware of how it makes you feel. If you feel anxiety, then there might be a little bit of an attachment to to your
Yeah.
devices or to your phone or a reliance on them. So that's a great, I think I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to challenge myself with that too. So thank you, Becky. But
You're
we
welcome.
appreciate you all for
Good
joining
luck.
us. Yes, good luck. But we appreciate you all for taking a peek at our video and for joining us. Like and subscribe because we talk about very important topics. We try to give you all the tips and tricks that we've learned in our professions and careers and all of our education between the two of us. But leave us a comment if you'd like as well. But thank you so much for joining Spill the Tea with S&B from S&B Consulting. Bye, everyone.
Bye.